This is a SnapEd New York video presentation.
Hi everybody, my name is Bianca. I am a SNAP educator with the SNAP education program working with City Harvest. And today we're going to show you how to make 2 delicious recipes using eggs. Everything you eat and drink matters. One goal is to consume a healthy eating pattern that accounts for all foods and beverages consumed within an appropriate calorie level. Today we're going to show you how to make a delicious recipe using multiple food groups from my plate that'll be budget-friendly, healthy, and easy to make.
We can use the My Plate diagram to help us identify healthy food items and recipes that fall into the 5 food groups: fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairy or fortified soy alternatives. The main ingredient of today's recipe is going to be eggs. Although we'll be using ingredients from all of the My Plate groups today, our main ingredient, egg, falls into the protein category. Typically, adults should consume about 5.5 to 6.5 ounces of protein daily. This should include lean protein options such as poultry, fish, lean, ground beef, and eggs. Considering plant-based proteins are a good idea, such as nuts, seeds, or beans.
Today we're going to learn to cook eggs into 2 simple recipes. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started on our first recipe today, our broccoli cheddar hash brown cups. First we're going to need some broccoli, fresh or frozen is fine for this recipe. We have some shredded up potatoes, a few eggs, some skim milk, some cheddar cheese. We're going to be putting them into cupcake or muffin pans, so we're going to need a little bit of non-stick spray, or some oil is also fine to use. We went ahead and preheated our oven to 350. Let's go ahead and get started on our recipe. We're going to start by cracking a couple of eggs into a bowl. Remember, by using things like eggs, some alternative to meat-based proteins, it's a good way to get a variety of protein into our diet. I recommend eating fish twice a week, eating alternatives like nuts, seeds, beans, tofu. Let's go ahead and whisk it. You can either use a fork or a whisk for this. I'm going to go ahead and use a fork. After we've whisked our eggs, we're going to go ahead and add in our broccoli. Today I'm using frozen broccoli florets, so I'm not even going to chop those, but if you wanted to, you can use fresh. Give those a rough chop. Broccoli is a low-calorie vegetable. It's got lots of fiber. It's rich in vitamin C. A wonderful addition. The next ingredient we'll be using is some shredded potatoes. I have a shredded white potato here that I bought in the frozen section, but you can do this from scratch. I'm using a white potato, but you guys can use a sweet potato or a red potato. Adding a variety of different vegetables in here. Potatoes are a little bit starchier, but that's okay. Consider drinking dairy throughout the day, like a glass of milk with a meal. It's great for our overall bone health. It contains calcium, potassium, vitamin D, and other proteins. Most Americans are actually below their daily recommendation for dairy. If you have a dairy intolerance, there are lots of alternative products out there for those of you who cannot consume. Last thing to do is season with a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, guys, so as much as you prefer. And then we're going to add it to our muffin pan over here with a little bit of spray. Again, if you don't have the spray, you can always use an oil. We're going to add a little bit to each cup, and we're going to pop it in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes until the eggs firm up. And let's go ahead and get started on our second recipe. This is our hearty breakfast burrito. First thing we're going to do is go over our ingredients. So, of course, our start today are eggs. We have some canned black beans, a little bit of that same cheddar cheese, some green onions or scallions, green bell pepper, a couple of cloves of garlic, and a whole wheat tortilla. Let's go ahead and get started. I have a pan here on the stove that I'm going to turn to a low-medium heat. And I'm going to cover the bottom of my pan with a little bit of olive oil. Vegetable oil would be fine too, right? We're going to try to stick to those vegetable-based oils, those plant-based oils, I should say. Let's go ahead and start with our green onions, also known as scallions, a very mild vegetable or a very mild onion. You can use any onion here, but I really love the scallions in this recipe. They're packed with vitamin A, vitamin C, folate. Guys, you can use the entire green onion from the bulb down to the top, that really leafy part at the top. We're gonna go ahead and just give this a really nice rough chop, nice and small. Let's go ahead and add our green onion to the pan and move on to our green bell pepper. So today I'm using a green bell pepper. You guys can use any color you want. Green bell peppers are usually the most affordable, but all of the peppers are pretty equal in their nutrients. They're packed with antioxidants, good for our immune system. We're gonna dice this up nice and small. I'm gonna use about half my bell pepper today. I'm gonna reserve the other half for either another recipe. You can chop it up, you can add it to a salad, you can eat it raw. Let's go ahead and add in our bell pepper here and give everything a little turn. See that green onion in there and that green bell pepper working. And then of course we have our garlic, a very powerful flavored ingredient. Also adds a variety of vegetables to it. I'm using fresh garlic cloves. Guys, you can use garlic powder if you prefer. If you are gonna use the fresh, you're gonna wanna mince it. So that means just bringing your knife back and forth, chopping it up so it's nice and small. Let's go ahead and add in our garlic here. Make sure you keep a close eye on that. Garlic is pretty delicate and it'll burn pretty fast if we leave the flame too high. While our veggies are cooking, we're gonna get them a little bit softer. We're gonna move on to our next ingredient, our black beans. Beans are another great source of protein. They're high in fiber, tons of nutrients, and they're very affordable, right? So today I'm using canned black beans, but fresh beans would have been fine as well. If you are gonna buy canned, a couple of tips, right? We always wanna clean off that bean can before we open it. We wanna look for things like low sodium or no added salt. If we can, if it's in reach. We can also pour our beans into a strainer in the sink and give them a couple of rinses. We've given our peppers, our green onions, and our garlic a few minutes to cook for everything to soften up. We're gonna go ahead and add our black beans. What I love about doing things with veggies is, guys, cook it till your preferred texture. If you like your vegetables really soft, or you like them to have a little bit more of a crunch to them, right, you're gonna cook them a little bit less. I'm using black beans today. You guys can use whatever beans you prefer. A pinto, a white, a kidney would have been totally fine in this recipe. We're gonna give this a few more minutes to cook. Let's go ahead and move on to our eggs today. So we're gonna use 3 eggs for this recipe. When you're cracking an egg, guys, it's important that you crack it into a separate bowl in order to give it a little bit of a whisk before you add it to whatever you're making. Let's go ahead and crack it on the table and then right into the bowl. Make sure you're avoiding any shells that might be in there. I'm gonna go ahead and whisk it with our whisk instead of our fork. And just give that a couple of whisks in here. It only takes like a minute or so. Another alternative, instead of seasoning right into the pan, you can go ahead and season your eggs. So we're gonna do a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then today we're gonna add a little bit of cumin. Cumin is a wonderful spice. You'll see it oftentimes in maybe like a taco recipe. I really challenge people to go outside their comfort zone, grab and try new spices. All right, we're gonna go ahead and pour in our whisked eggs into our bean and veggie mix here. Your eggs are gonna take about 3 to 5 minutes to cook, depending on how firm you like them. So just keep an eye on them. You don't want them to cook too fast, so you want that flame to be on like a low medium. Today we have our cheddar cheese that we're going to be adding. We're gonna add this at the end once we turn the heat off of our eggs and they begin to slow down the cooking process, just enough to melt the cheese. Our eggs are just about done. We're gonna shut off the heat and we're gonna add in our low-fat cheddar cheese. Remember guys, if you're using cheese, we should go for a low-fat or non-fat option. While that's melting, let's talk about our tortilla. Today we're using a whole wheat tortilla rather than a white flour tortilla, and that's because our daily goal should be to make at least half our grains whole. Whole grains will make a huge difference in our lives. They're packed with protein, they have tons of fiber in there. And what that statement means, it means that not every grain that you eat has to be whole wheat or whole grain, but at least half of them. So if you're gonna have white toast in the morning, maybe decide on a slice of whole wheat tortilla for your lunch, right? Or white pasta in the evening, maybe the next day you have some brown rice. All right, guys, here's the finished product of both of our recipes today, our Hearty breakfast burrito and our cheddar hash brown broccoli egg cup. Each recipe yields about 4 servings, a half cup serving each, which is added to your overall protein needs and half your whole grain needs for the day. Total cost for both of these recipes were about $18.65. So divide that in half per recipe. It's about $2.33 per serving. Both recipes can be stored in the refrigerator in an airtight container for about 5 days. If you're gonna store your burrito, what I like to do is roll it up. If you wrap this in tin foil, you can go ahead and throw it in the oven when you're ready to heat it up. Both of these recipes today encompass almost all 5 of the food groups in our My Plate. We have our vegetables, our dairy, our protein, and our grains. Remember, eggs are budget friendly and high in protein and can be very diverse. Think about making this recipe with your family, double the recipe, stretch it for a couple of days. Don't be afraid to eat eggs for something other than breakfast. They make a great lunch or even dinner. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Remember, small changes can really make a big difference in our diet.
Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Start today by getting involved with SNAP Ed New York. This program is free for those who qualify or receive SNAP benefits. We want to help you save time, save money, and eat healthy. Learn how SNAP Ed can make a difference in your life. For more information and to find your local program, visit snapedny.org. This material is funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.